This is the VEEAPE 12 and 120 volt tire inflator. Let's take it out of the box. In the box you get the instructions for use. Over here you have a little baggie which gives you a ball inflator and a couple of different nozzles to fit air mattresses, things like that. They give you an extra fuse, which would be for the 12 volt connection. Of course, here is the unit itself. The hose is stored in the back. I'll get back to it in just a second. Your 12 volt cord here, fuse is stored in there. There's one in there already. The one I showed you is a spare, and that has its own type connector to the unit, and the 120 volt cord here with its own type connector, and both of those of course are on the unit. So let's take a look at the unit. It sits down like this. It's got rubber feet on it, and they're supposed to move like that. They're kind of bouncy feet like that, so to speak, so that way it'll sit and absorb vibrations. Your control panel here to start the unit, run the pressure up and down, and the light I'll get back to in a second. On the bottom here, you know, bottom when it's standing up that way, which is, like I said, why it sits this way, your 12 volt and your 120 volt connection. And around the back here is the tire chuck. Right here, your standard clamp-on variety like that. Cord rolls up in there, and there is a little notch there for you to send the hose out like that to go to your tire. On the side of the unit is a light, so you can see to connect the hose to your tire, controlled by the light button on the front. And this actually has 3 different modes as well, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. Basically the way it works is you'll extend the hose out, hook it up to your tire, plug it in, pick your poison here, 120 or 12 volts, depending on what you have available, and the display is going to light up, and it will show the current pressure of the tire. You then use the plus and minus buttons to run that up to what you want. So if you want, let's say, 32 psi, and of course there's other units in here as well you can choose from. If you want 32 psi, you hit the plus and minus to get to that. It'll flash a couple times, and then when it goes back to your original tire pressure reading, you hit the power button, it'll start up and pump up the tire. If you need the light, you press the button, the light will go on, press again for second mode, and third. Let's plug it in so I can show you that. So I have the unit plugged in now. You can see how the display lights up, so it should be easy to see outside. You have your button here to change the different units. There's 4 different ones to choose from. Your plus and minus buttons over here that you can use to select the pressure you want. So I'm going to be using 34 psi right there for later. You see how it flashes like that and goes back to what it reads now. Now it's set for 34. You have to wait for that number to stop flashing for it to be ready, and then you can go and hit the power button, and you see how it'll turn on. Now for the light, we can press that. It's over on this side here. A couple of LEDs in there. Pretty bright, definitely enough to see what you need to. Press again, and you have the red light, and one more, and you have a SOS red light, and one more press turns it off. So let's go take this outside. I'll bring it to the car. We'll fill it up with 12 volts, and then I have another tire we'll fill up with 120 volts. Okay, I have this on the 12 volt one right now. You can't mix these up because they only fit in one place. So just like that, we're going to take out the hose. I've already taken my valve cap off over here, and we'll put that on. And I don't know if you can read that. This is perfectly readable in real life, but on the camera sometimes the exposure just doesn't lock in on it. It's reading 32. I'm going to take some air out of the tire and make that 24, and we'll pump it up to 34. It's currently reading 24, so we're going to go ahead and pump that up. The way you do it, once again, is use your plus and minus buttons till you get to the pressure you want. 34 is the pressure I want. Everything is all set. You wait for the number to stop flashing, and we'll hit the button and let it go. Right on the money. Pumped it right up in not very long of a time. I put that time on the screen already so you could get an idea of how long it might take to fill up a somewhat low tire. This, by the way, is a 215/60 R16 tire, and we filled it from 24 to 34 psi. Now we're going to get another tire that is very similar in size, and we'll fill that up. This is what you call a spare tire. This is a P205/65 R15. The other was an R16. So very, very similar in size. And hookup is, of course, just the same. We're going to go ahead and put that on there. And we'll be reading the pressure in a moment. Now I'm going to be using the 120 volt cord right here. So we'll plug that into an extension cord that's handy here. Other end into the unit right here. And again, it can only fit in one place. Let that come up. And it's reading 19. So what I'm going to do is run this up to 24, and then we'll go from there to pump it to 34. So what I'm going to do first is run my pressure down. It goes in 0.5 psi. The number is flashing. You wait, and we'll hit the power button. Okay, that pumped up. It actually says 24.5 or 25. We'll just knock that down a hair. That's 24, 23.5. Very close right there. So that'll alter up and down a little bit as it goes. We're going to reset it now to 34 psi. Wait for the number to stop flashing. And now we're ready to go. Now again, this is a little bit smaller tire because it's a 205/65 R15 instead of an R16, but it's otherwise the same 10 psi and a very, very similar size tire. So here we go from 24 to 34 psi. And there we go. That filled up, no problem, once again. The unit does seem a little more, how should I put this, sure-footed on 120 volts. That could be mitigated on the 12 volts by having the engine of the car running, because then it'll get a little bit more voltage and run a little bit faster. So that would be another factor involved. Now, yes, I could have plugged this in and filled up the same tire I did, but even that isn't exactly a fair comparison. And the reason why is because all of these little tire pumps, no matter what brand or anything that you buy, I would need two of them to do that, to really have an apples-to-apples comparison. Because after they're used for a while, like for example, this hose right here, where it comes out, is quite warm. And the unit itself is quite warm inside as well. So what happens is they slow down as they've been running for a while, until they've had a chance to cool back down to ambient temperature. So unless I had two cold compressors to start on the same tire, it wouldn't really be an apples to apples. So this is about the closest I could bring you to make things a lot easier for me. Another thing this shows is the versatility of this inflator, because, you know, this is a tire obviously, but it could have been a mattress, it could have been maybe a beach ball for the pool, it could have been a basketball, or any number of other inflatable items. And when you're home, you know, why use the car battery in the whole thing when you can just plug it on in? And that really is where the versatility of this VEEAPE tire inflator comes from. So it's very versatile both ways, both on 12 and 120 volts. So once again, this is the VEEAPE 12 and 120 volt tire inflator. You can use it in the house, you can use it in the car, or anything in between, depending on the power source that you have available, which makes it quite versatile. If you'd like to purchase this item, I'll leave a link in the video description where you can find the item available for sale on Amazon. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.